Hello everyone, Emily's British Robot Butler here with the content warnings. First, she talks about cyborg and quickly mentions racist violence. There is talk of menstruation in the middle. Then, at the end, ableist filicide, that is, the killing of disabled children by their parents. And worst of all to me, a fancy butler, is she drinks wine out of a glass that is not a wine glass. Shock and horror. Watch at your own risk.
Hey everyone, Emily here. That's how that's pronounced. And my series on Doom Patrol and disability did really well. And people have been asking me what I think about Dorothy. And I think some thoughts about Dorothy. But first I have some thoughts on Cyborg. So I kind of dragged Silas a bit in my last episode of this specific series. I have other videos. Watch my other videos. I kind of drag him for being a bit of a show parent, like kind of pushing Vic to be like a very specific kind of hero. But I've been thinking a little bit about Doom Patrol and race, and through that context, I think that his actions make a bit more sense and are a bit more understandable. See, there's a lot of really racist people in this world, in particular in this country, the United States of America. Shocking, I know. And often, a lot of those people commit violence against Black people. And oftentimes when that happens, they paint out the victim to be some type of a monster who is overpowered. He was a big guy, so I got scared type of thing. But the thing is, Cyborg is incredibly powerful. Like, he's got weapons built into his body. So it would make sense that Silas, wanting to protect his son, would want to make sure that everybody knows that his son is a good person and a hero. Vic will face racism for as long as he's a Black man in this country, but as long as he has a reputation of being a hero and the fame and acclaim that comes with that, it can kind of offer him some level of protection. Any racist who tries to hurt Vic will not only have to deal with Vic defending himself, but will also face the ire of the entire superhero community and fans of the superhero community. And then Vic's reputation would defend him against accusations of him being the instigator. Oh, Cyborg is a good guy. He's a hero. He would never do something like that. Surely Cyborg, known hero, doesn't deserve such brutality. Although, if you ask me, nobody does. That was just a thought I had. Tell me what you think in the comments. Now on to Dorothy. And warning, yeah, this one gets heavy. Dorothy basically has no emotional regulation, which, same. I didn't mean to get that all over my face. Only, unlike me and other people whose neurodivergence causes a lack of emotional regulation, Dorothy has the ability to create imaginary friends, which are magical beings, which she can manifest into the real world with powers. I wish. She's also got this one called the Candlemaker who keeps following her and harassing her to make a wish, typically when she's incredibly scared. Like, for example, when she's being gawked at by spectators in an exploitative freak show, or when Baby Doll traps her in a fiery furnace thing and Flamin' Katie kills the imaginary friend her mom gave her. A lot of people acted like that was Dorothy's fault, but, pretty sure it's the Chief's fault. He was pushing them, two extremely traumatized girls, to play with each other without making sure that they played nicely, and then he wasn't there to check that if any conflict arose, that he was around to de-escalate it. Not to mention that Niles could have given Dorothy social skills and coping mechanisms if he didn't just lock her up for the greater part of a century and instead got her help for her trauma and taught her other solutions to interpersonal conflict. Like, of course, a girl who's only used to playing with her imaginary friends is going to get frustrated and overreact at the first sign of conflict. What did you expect, Chief? In Space Patrol, after Dorothy runs away, Niles says, "I just wanted Dorothy to be normal, which made me a terrible father and a bastard." Say it louder for the autism moms in the back. She could unleash a being so powerful, it would cleave the earth in two. All it would take is for Dorothy to wish it so. Okay, Boomer, then make sure she doesn't wish it so. But by locking her away for a century, you aren't exactly giving her the coping tools and pro-social behavior to keep her from doing that stuff, and threatening to lock her up when she gets upset and almost brings out the Candlemaker is probably not good for the long run. It's It's like how we don't have to worry about Superman using his powers for evil because he's not an evil dude, and a big part of what he attributes that to is his parents being parents. Still, somehow Cliff ends up being a better father figure to her in one scene, a scene he went into feeling negatively about Dorothy, than we've ever really seen Chief been.
Sometimes a person hurts so bad, all they can imagine is that everyone wants to hurt each other. But that's not true. You're not alone. I know you want to be alone right now. But trust me, that'll pass.
Candlemaker also says that Dorothy's mother and ancestors, had him, and yet Chief decides to act like she's cursed. Only, hey, Chief, maybe she isn't? There's this idea that once Dorothy comes of age, that she's going to use the Candlemaker for evil, but if Dorothy's mom and ancestors had the Candlemaker and didn't use him for evil, then what's the deal here? Maybe the Candlemaker was meant as a method for protection, which would make sense because he has been so far. I mean, he's been a pretty brutal method of protection, but a method of protection nonetheless. Maybe if she felt like she had other forms of protection, I don't know, a loving dad, then maybe this wouldn't be an issue. There's also probably something to be said about colonization. Maybe if she still had her mother or access to more information about her mother's culture, then she would have more information on how to handle and control the Candlemaker. According to the people in the know, aka Willoughby, it's Dorothy getting her period, which is what's going to cause the end of the world. Presumably letting the Candlemaker free or giving him more power or something. There's a lot that can be said here about periods and evil womanhood. Renegade Cut, one of my favorite YouTubers, has a video on this topic. But that interested me in particular because, for me at least, periods are very, very terrible. Sorry if I'm oversharing, but I have this thing called Sorry if I'm oversharing, but I have this thing called PMDD, premenstrual dysphoric disorder. Oh my god, you're hitting me already. Stop it. Sorry if I'm oversharing, but I have this thing called PMDD, premenstrual dysphoric disorder, which basically means that I get super anxious and depressed in the week and a half or so leading up to my period. My sensory overload gets way worse, and I get super, super exhausted. I'm on a very specific birth control pill for it, which helps quite a bit. And if I don't have access to that specific pill, I have a really bad time. To the point where I literally dropped out of a semester because I tried a new pill. Big mistake. Huge. I'm moving through this way too fast. We haven't even gotten to the fucked up part yet. Then on top of that, I get dysmenorrhea, which is basically science talk for, yeah, your periods are super painful to the point that it's debilitating. We don't know. Might be related to my fibromyalgia and all of that kind of stuff. And now it's a lot better, but when I was a kid, it was really, really debilitating, and I would have to leave school for it, and the nurse would be super, super rude to me about it, everybody's period is super, super bad and makes them want to die. You're faking. Which incidentally doesn't crack the top 15 worst, most ableist moments of me in school. Why am I saying all of this? Well, for one thing, radfems and TERFs like to act like periods make you a woman. They go around acting like Batman in frickin' Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice.
Do you bleed?
Super creepy. But also, if periods are what makes you a woman, then, not a fan. It's not only alienating to trans women, which is their intent and is bad. Quaff me in my Crazy Jane episode, you gotta exclude TERFs. But it alienates cis women who either don't have periods for whatever reason or have terrible periods, and who don't want their gender to be associated with that. However, that being said, there is something to be said about the trope of girl gets period and then bad things happen. It equates periods not to something that just bothers the person having them, but to an evil on the larger social scale that is harmful and gives harmful powers. And this is something that Niles wanted to prevent by doing something really terrible. This is it. This is your last chance to get out. Okay, Niles decides to enlist Willoughby to kill his daughter. On a totally unrelated note, watch this infuriating clip from an Autism Speaks documentary called Autism Every Day. This lady, Alison Tepper Singer, former vice president of Autism Speaks, is talking about how schools are often inaccessible to children such as her daughter Jody, who is in the room with her.
There are parents who are forced to put kids in schools that are completely overcrowded and 12 kids and one teacher, and the kids don't make progress. But I remember that was a very scary moment for me when I realized I had sat in the car for about 15 minutes and actually contemplated putting Jody in the car and driving off the George Washington Bridge, and that would be preferable to having to put her in one of these schools. And it's only because of Lauren, the fact that I have another child, that I probably didn't do it.
Yep, you heard that right. The only reason this lady didn't do a murder suey with her autistic daughter in the car is because she loved her able daughter, who was also in the car. And 4 days after this film premiered, some Karen, in that her name was literally Karen, decided to suffocate her 3-year-old autistic daughter before going out and buying herself some ice cream. The available evidence suggests that the risk of death by filicide is higher, probably 3 to 6 times as high for a child with a disability as for a child without a disability. And see, what really gets me going is that Niles is doing exactly what this autism mom dreamed of. Oh, but I know for a fact that letting you live would be so much more terrible than I just have to kill you. No way we can see how this is gonna end up. No way how we can just see how this is gonna turn out. Maybe it won't turn out so bad. Nope. Preemptive strike. Weapons of mass destruction. And they're your autism, or your imaginary friends, I guess. Same thing. Only unlike that horrendous mother, Niles at least seems to enjoy spending time with his daughter and can't bear to kill her himself and begs Willoughby for another way. And oh yeah, is fictional. So, actually, I didn't write any more of this. I didn't write an ending. Oh no, and I drank too much wine. Autism Speaks bad. Don't fucking murder your disabled children. World bad. Wine good. Well, wine okay.
Like and subscribe and comment below what you thought of the video. Once you're subscribed, click the bell icon. If you're still watching, comment the word Simeon.